Hey everyone, welcome to Mid-Ohio for the resumption of our F1600 regular season. It's been a while since we've had a regular season race, so why don't we have a quick review of how the season has been going so far. In the season opener at Road Atlanta, we finished 8th in a very wet race 1. Then we crashed out on the first lap in race 2. This caused us to miss the final race of the weekend as well as the entire weekend of round 2 at Watkins Glen. So a pretty short season for us so far, and the lack of race starts has put us way down at the bottom of the championship standings. But today is a new day, and hopefully we can begin to turn things around. Looking at the starting grid, well, things could be better. A somewhat lackluster qualifying puts us 13th. The times were somewhat tight, so it's only a second and a half between us and P1. And a good bit of that is from the draft as well. The Pelfrey cars and the Cahill cars are always drafting off of each other in the practice sessions and in qualifying. And I was just running around by myself, so that's going to put us a little bit farther behind than we would otherwise. But still, I was really hoping to be up around P8 or P9. So 13th is a little disappointing. Nevertheless, the track at Mid-Ohio is always fun to come to. Set among some really gently rolling hills in central Ohio, it's got a really great flow to it. There's really only 2 decent passing areas, one into the keyhole and then the other back down the back straight into turn 4. And of course, as always at Mid-Ohio, we're going to be taking the green flag on the back straight, and then the laps will continue to be counted normally on the finish line before turn 1. So let's try to get a good start, see if we can make up a few places, and start our recovery from an abysmal beginning to the season. Coming around the keyhole, with a lot of cars in front of us, getting ready to take the start on the back straightaway. And there's the green flag. Try to move to the inside. Ryan Bjerk there on the left already got the jump on us, and one of the cars up front slows down, almost puts the wheel off, and that's going to make us check up and lose a whole bunch of positions. And try to see if we can get a few back going into turn 1. Looks like we aren't able to. We've got a car on the left, so we're going to have to take the outside around this really slippery off-camber turn 5, which puts us in a better spot for turn 6. I have to try to get around Mike Scanlon here. We should be faster than him. Try to look on the inside, not quite able to do it. That's a kind of a risky place. So we're just going to try to get a good exit here out of the carousel. Maybe we can make a move into 1. If not, get a good run through 1. Try and get them in the keyhole. Car moves to the left. Mike Scanlon looks like he's going to make it 3 wide. No, this is a bad idea. I'm going to have none of this. Whoa. I managed to take advantage of that. You could see trouble coming from a mile away there. 3 into 1 does not go. We were able to get 1 spot out of that. Hopefully we can hold them off. I think this is Chris Kearse here in the black Van Diemen in front of us. See if we can get a good run out of the keyhole, drop them down the straight, and get them into turn 4. Looks like Mike Scanlon is backed off behind us. Draft is working. But we're not able to take the position on the brakes. They make a nice move to hold that on the outside. Turn 4 there's a little bit banked, so you can do it, and plus you're leading into that left-hand turn 5. A little bit of rotation there. Looks like we've got a bit of corner exit oversteer, or corner entry oversteer rather. So let's try to do this again. Try to get a good run through the keyhole, use this draft along the long back straightaway, and hopefully get them under the brakes into turn 4. Get a good late apex here. You can see how much time we gain on them on the exit of keyhole. Now this is good. This is where we want to be, popping out the pass. Of course, from this camera angle, it's hard to see it. And you can see he's way behind us. So now we're going to try and keep our eyes in front of us, not look in the mirror, and try and string together a good couple of corners to try and get away from the car behind us and inch toward the next car so we can attack them. It's going to be a little bit difficult since they're in a pack, so they have the draft. But this track isn't as draft dependent as some of them are, since it's very twisty. So we might have a chance to catch up to them, hopefully. Hopefully fighting in front of us will slow them down as well. This white car here's Tom Schweitz. I've had a few run-ins with him in the past. He's not super fast, but he's really tough to get around. So hopefully we'll be able to catch up to him, get into his draft, and get around him without too much trouble. But it's very possible that he's going to put up a hard fight, and it might slow us down for a bit. More of that oversteer, just sort of trail braking into it is what's causing that back end to stand out or to step out. But it's not so bad. It's fairly controllable in this car. You just have to get on the throttle and settle the back end down. You can see we're gaining a lot of time on Tom right here. But getting up to him is one thing, and getting around him is an entire another thing, and that's going to be a lot more difficult. The wheel spin as the car gets up onto the curb, try to avoid that. There's a really weird bump right at the apex of the carousel that can kind of upset it. Sounds like the engine is getting bogged down in turn 1. Always trying to get a good exit out of the keyhole. We're in his draft. We should be able to get by. We'll see how it goes. This Tom is a very difficult guy to pass. Not able to... Wow. Usually we should have sucked up to his car at the end of that straightaway, but you can see now we're in the corners. We're catching him easily. But he must have a really good engine. Those citations, the chassis that he's running is really slippery through the air. Actually, I've heard that the nose of my car is styled after that car's nose. It's not the typical Van Diemen part. So that should help us, but you can see it's a very sleek looking car. And you can see how that blue and yellow car has just walked away from him. And Chris Kierst is still there in our mirrors, so we got to keep an eye on him. And we got to get around this guy as soon as we can. And take a look in our mirrors. There's Chris Kierst. He's right on our gearbox. He's not going to make a move going into the keyhole. If he did, we would probably be able to get him back on the back straightaway. Again, trying to get a good exit. We're a lot closer this time than we were the last lap, so we should be able to use the draft to make sure we don't mess up any shifts. not quite, we're just not quite able to use the draft at the end of the straightaway. We look out, we get him under the brakes by a long shot. And there he goes. So we lost a lap to him. That wasn't too bad. It could have been a lot worse. I think the next car is Cliff Johnson in that red Piper. Let's see if we can catch him before the end of the race. Got 7 laps. Of course, if you look at the lap counter, it says 8 because it counted the warm-up lap. I believe there were 14 laps. To be honest, I don't actually know when I'm sitting in the car how many laps we have to go. I just kind of push the car as hard as I can until I see the checkered flag. They do have flag signals at the start-finish line. If you see, they'll cross a green and white flag, and that means we're halfway through. And then, of course, we have the white flag for 1 lap to go, and the checkered flag means the end of the race. But one of the reasons why I don't say we have X many laps to go throughout the race is because, frankly, I don't know. I don't know commenting, and I don't know in the race. That's just kind of part of racing at this level. I mean, you should have your crew members that are looking at the times, and especially now with Race Monitor, everybody has the timing and scoring on their phone so they can give their drivers live updates. But asking my dad to use a cell phone properly is asking a lot. So I tend to just do it the old-fashioned way. There's no real pit strategy or pacing strategy since it's such a short race. We're just flat out from start to finish. So I just tend to drive like that. I try to do the best I can as we get another big slide through turn 6. I just try to go as fast as I can from the start to the finish. Of course, managing risks since any accidents that we have would take a long time to fix, a lot longer than a normal team. So it's lap 9. I think there's 14 laps. Maybe there's 20. I think there's 14 laps in DIR. There's 20, 21 laps, so we're about halfway to the finish. I guess we're on lap 8 rather. Just about to finish lap 8. Of course, on tracks where the draft is really important, it's really good to know when you have a lap or 2 left, because you want to put yourself in the right position at the right time to make a move. Because if you're, if for this track, for example, if you're in first place on the last lap and you're going through the keyhole, the car behind you is probably going to be able to draft you down this back straightaway into turn 4. So you actually want to be in second place when you're starting the last lap. If you're nose to tail, like most of these Formula 1600 races tend to be, especially at the front, since they're all so close, and they need the draft to stay with each other. It's kind of like plate racing in NASCAR. You're never going to just walk away. That's just not how the physics works. So tactics and sort of thinking strategically is really important once you get up to the front. For us, it's a little bit different in the back or in the midfield, because you can have such a disparity in pace where the cars in front will just sort of walk away from you because they're faster in the corners, and you're not within the margin that you can make up that distance on the straight. And I think this is a good example. I got past Tom Schweitz, and he's slower than me in the corners so much so that I eventually am able to pull away from him so that the draft isn't allowing him to catch back up to me. looks like a pretty quiet race for us for right now. There's a pretty big gap behind us. Although Tom Schweitz is still there ready to mop up any mistakes that we make, so he's keeping us honest. Just have to hit our marks, not overslow the corners, but not overdrive the car as well. And there's a huge gap out in front of us, so it's going to be difficult to catch Cliff Johnson. So you can see driving into a big cloud of tire smoke. Somebody's having a hard race in front of us. Still getting big oversteer into turn 6. Full course yellow would be really helpful for us right now, but I'm not entirely sure if we're going to get one. I'm trying to soften the front bar, try to get some front grip back. In turn 1 especially, it really felt like the front end was starting to go away on corner exit. Of course, by front bar, I mean the front anti-roll bar. We've got anti-roll bars in the front and rear. The front one I can adjust from the cockpit. The rear I have to wait until I go into the pit lane. Tom Schweitz makes a move on the inside. And he gets it. If you guys remember, we've been having trouble with too much rear brake bias pretty much since we got this car at the beginning of 2018, and we're finally starting to make things better. We've realized that we were making kind of a stupid mistake. I sort of misinterpreted what some of my friends were saying about it and about how it can be adjusted. So we cleared that up, and now I know that we can adjust it from the full range in the mechanical linkage through the dial in the cockpit. So I set it so that it was fairly far forward, and I've sort of been dialing it back a little bit in practice, and I'm getting it closer to where I would like it. So we're starting to gain a bit of time under the brakes, which is good, and it's going to help us later down the road as well. Tom Schweitz goes way wide into the keyhole. Not sure what was happening there, but we're in a good spot to try to take advantage of the draft. But of course, with his car, we have been having trouble sneaking up behind him. As you can see here, we should be gaining momentum on him. Now we are. Coming a little bit late. See if we can outbrake him. We've got it. Of course, all of this fighting slows us down, and he still holds the inside into turn 6. Try to walk around the outside, can't quite get it. This is what I mean, where he's a tough guy to pass. You can see we were faster than him for a bit, but he clawed his way back. It looks like there's nobody else behind us. And the next cars in front of us are quite a ways down the road, so it's just him and me right now. I definitely want to finish in front of him. We've got about 5 or 6 laps to go. He takes a really wide entry as well. Tries to stay, looks like he stays off the apex, off of that bump. But I'm not really sure if it helps him. I think it's best to just sort of grit your teeth through it and take the wider line. You can sort of see me working the wheel there, trying to manage that understeer on the exit. Let's see, I'm not sure if it's the smartest thing to go into the keyhole, but if you've got the chance, you've got to take it. See if he's able to draft behind me and get me going into turn 4. It looks like he is. He's gaining a lot. See, I stay to the inside, try to take a bit of a defensive line. Of course, there's a fairly distinct difference between blocking and taking defensive line. I wasn't moving in reaction to him, just keeping my car in the middle of the track, so he either has two choices. He can go all the way to the inside and fully commit to an inside pass, or try to stay on the racing line. Maybe try to make an outside pass work, but you have to give them that choice. If you try to move your car in front of them after they make a move, then obviously that's blocking. But it seems like he's backed off for whatever reason. And another point similar to the lap count, I'm not saying anything about what position I'm in because frankly I have no idea. Again, I have no idea in the car. The start is very chaotic. I know I started 13th, but I don't really know how many places I lost at the beginning. Sort of being in the wrong place at the wrong time with that car up front, checking up, and then we kind of got wedged in. I think we've made most of the places back, but I'm really not sure. So especially in the car, I have absolutely no idea what position we're in. Sometimes if you're closer to the front or if you're in the lead pack, you can count the cars in front of you and you can know that way, but obviously the next car in front of us is so far down the road that we can't even see them. So we're just trying to push as hard as we can, try to keep our distance from the cars behind us. That's about all we can do at this point. Just trying to put down good lap times. You can see it seems like each lap that each lap the race is going, I'm getting better and better. So our last lap was our best lap, and it seems like it's been like that for most of the race, which is good. It's always good to go fast. And it looks like, it's kind of hard to tell in the mirror, but it looks like Chris Kyrgios got around Tom Schweitz, so that's put more distance between him and us. Hopefully, they'll be too busy fighting amongst each other to work together to catch up to me. Like I said, this track is not as draft dependent as some tracks are, especially like VIR. But if they work together, two cars are still faster than one. There's the white flag, so we've got one more lap to go. Looks like the cars behind us have sort of left our sight in the mirror. So I just have to put together a decent lap, not make any mistakes, hit our marks. A bit of a quiet race here. Once it settled down, we had a bit of a scrap with Tom Schweitz, but otherwise just kind of watching the cars in front of us walk away and then trying to manage the gap from the cars behind us. So we come around the carousel for the final time. And there's the checkered flag. So, taking a look at the results, Jonathan Kotick takes the win away from Josh Green, Dexter Zuba. Chris Horan had a good start. He was maybe a car in front of us. He ended up 4th, so good for him. We're down in 13th. I think that's where we started. So a little bit of a disappointing race. We got a bad start, and then we had to work our way back up. So we were able to claw our way back from where we finished, but we weren't able to improve. So hopefully in race 2 we can do a little bit better. Taking a look at the championship standings, Jonathan Kotick is leading from Josh Green, Christian Laldas, Misha Goikberg, who I think was only in Road Atlanta and Watkins Glen. Of course, he was always in the top 5, so he's going to have a lot of points racked up. But I would expect him to fall down the order as the season goes. We are down in 19th. Of course, we've only finished one race so far in this championship. Well, I guess this is the second one. So we're going to try to be working our way back up the championship standings as the season goes on, since we're recovering from a really bad start to the season. Chris Horan is right behind us. And of course, this was his first race in the championship, and so he's looking pretty good. He got a 4th place finish right off the bat. The next race is race 2 here again at Mid-Ohio. We'll have that coming up soon, so thanks for watching everyone, and we will see you soon.